Hi everyone, I'm Emma, a certified dog trainer.
And I'm Kirsten, a certified dog behavior consultant.
And this is Dog Chats. Join us as we chat about dog behavior, having fun with your dogs, and building relationships. We will offer practical advice and a bit of humor. Hi everyone, welcome to episode 24. We're really excited today because this is our first on location podcast.
A super cool location.
Yeah. We are at Compassion Without Borders and very excited. We just got a wonderful tour and we're ready to talk and find out more about this wonderful organization.
Yes. Compassion Without Borders was founded in 2001 by Dr. Christi and Camblor, with the vision to provide a brighter future for animals in need on both sides of the border. Compassion Without Borders works with a multifaceted approach to reach animals in need. There's 4 programs. They're Mexico Dog Rescue, the U.S. Dog Rescue, veterinary wellness clinics, and spay and neuter services. Also, they participate with other rescue groups in the U.S. and Mexico to provide outreach for humane rescue education and training via seminars. With us today is Dr. Christi.
We're really excited to have you with us. I'm excited. I'm going to keep saying excited. And a little bit about our background. We know each other from a past job. We worked at Sonoma Humane Society, so we know each other many years ago.
Yes.
And then I've kind of followed your journey, which has been really exciting. I guess the first question is, how did this come to be?
Oh, thank you. Well, first off, I'm also very excited to be interviewed by you guys and honored that I'm the first in-person podcast. What a treat. So Compassion Without Borders started after I finished my undergraduate at UC Davis. I knew I wanted to go back and go to vet school, but I needed an academic breather. I was working and trying to keep my GPA up to get into vet school. I was already doing rescue work. We were pulling dogs from shelters in Solano and Sacramento and bringing them to the Marin Humane Society. I was living and working at a animal sanctuary. We had that program going. But I decided to take an academic breather. I wanted to travel. I spoke Spanish. I wanted to go to a Spanish-speaking country. And of course, I wanted to work with animals. So I first ended up at a humane society in Vieques, which is a small island off the coast of Puerto Rico. And, I kind of considered myself a seasoned animal welfare and rescue person from the work I'd been doing in the States. But when I got to Puerto Rico, I was very surprised by how dire the situation was, how high the euthanasia rate was, and just how few resources there were. And I thought that was a pretty bad situation until I ended up at my next internship, and using the word internship pretty loosely, which was in Mexico City, which is one of the biggest cities in the world. And I was at a place called the Refugio Franciscano, which is one of the biggest shelters in the world. At that time, which was 2001, they had 2,000 dogs and about 300 to 400 cats. And the dogs were largely housed loose or else crowded in cages. And it was a pretty tough situation, run by a very well-intentioned individual, but just overwhelming. Too many animals, not enough resources, not enough positive outcomes for those animals. So it was one day when I arrived there, I had a whole pack of dogs that would just follow me around. And so when I would arrive there, they would all come rushing forward to greet me. And I realized that one of my favorite dogs, who was named Seraphine, who was this big strapping shepherd mix, he wasn't there. And I knew what that meant. Seraphine would start fights with other dogs, and in that shelter, a fight could get out of hand very quickly and end in a death. And that is what happened with Seraphine. So I was very sad to learn that as I first entered the shelter. And it was a rainy day, and you can imagine what it's like with rain and 2,000 dogs and not enough cleaning. And so it was just a rough day. And I ended that day where I always ended my shift, which was at what they called their infirmary, which was really just a room where animals would go get put in cages that were sick and usually not make it. And when I entered the infirmary, there was another one of my favorite dogs, Cha-Cha, who was this cute little scruffy terrier. She was in the cage and she was obviously very sick. And so I was devastated, and I was so sad that I actually sat down on the floor of the infirmary, which was disgusting, dirty floor. And from where I was sitting, I could see there was a door leading to outside, and I could see with a window, and I could see the 2,000 dogs in the rain, trying in vain to find shelter. And I felt ridiculous. And I felt like, what in the world am I doing? And what do I think I'm like some gringa going to do about this huge problem? And what could anybody even do about this problem? And I was so overwhelmed. I just literally couldn't get up off the floor. And then kind of all of a sudden, I was getting up off the floor and I was walking over to Cha-Cha's cage. I was opening her cage and I was taking her out, and I got her out of the shelter and I got her veterinary care, and she was the very first dog that we placed, and she went on to live like another 14 years.
Wow.
So it all started with that. And it was in that moment, I was kind of waffling about vet school and exactly what I was going to do. And it was in that moment that I decided that I was definitely going to go to vet school, and I was going to dedicate my life to helping animals like Cha-Cha that were homeless and needed quality veterinary care, but also, moreover, to working really hard to prevent animals like Cha-Cha from ever being in that position in the first place, by getting to the root causes of animal homelessness through access to veterinary care and spay neuter. So we were growing it while I was in veterinary school, which was challenging, but it worked out. We started doing spay neuter clinics in different parts of Mexico, doing spay neuter trainings, and we started the sustainable dog rescue program all through vet school, actually.
Explain that. What's a sustainable dog?
Like we set up a shelter in Juarez. We found partners. At that time, we didn't have our own shelter, so we found partners who would take the dogs in Northern California. We housed the dogs at Animal Place, which is an animal sanctuary. They're actually the first ones that took dogs way back when we started airlifting dogs out of Mexico City, and just started creating partnerships that enabled us to save lives on a pretty regular basis. And then the spay neuter clinics, what we would do back then is we would find community centers in different parts of Mexico, find a local animal welfare organization that worked with local veterinarians, and then we'd go in and put on week-long clinics. And the clinics would provide high volume, high quality spay neuter and other veterinary services, but they primarily served as a training center for the vets and the animal welfare advocates so that they could keep the efforts going once we left. So we would do that like on Thanksgiving, like any break I had in school, we would head down to Mexico and do something. So it kind of started to grow. It did start to grow while I was in vet school.
And your organizational skills, I can only imagine the logistics of all of that.
Yes, it was quite something. So the spay camps, we would bring down sometimes upward of 24 U.S. volunteers, and we'd be working with local volunteers. So it was quite a feat to get organized.
Yeah. But I love it because you're not just putting a Band-Aid on the problem, right? You really are looking at the entire solution. Instead of just...
Somebody once said that rescue is sort of like mopping up the floor, and spay neuter and access to care is like turning off the faucet. Really stuck with me. Even though I love rescue, and it's definitely what keeps me motivated and going. I think it's critical that we're also working at the root causes of the problem. I can put the dog in my lap.
Yeah, you could if you.
Let's do that.
Yeah, because
let's introduce him.
Yeah.
We have a little dog that's barking for some attention, so Dr. Christi is just going to get him and bring him in and hang out with him. So he's going to be part of our podcast. So Taco is joining us now.
Taco just wanted to be on the air.
Yeah, and Taco was just going, hey, I need some attention. I hear all the talking in there.
He's a very handsome chihuahua.
Sidetracking, tell us a little bit about him.
So Taco is a sweet little rescue boy. He's actually, so we do also rescue dogs from local shelters. He was from a shelter in the East Bay, I think, and he had seizures. So they were not able to care for his medical needs. So we transferred him into our care. He's been in foster so he could be monitored for seizures. And he did have a seizure this morning. So now he's back on site so that we can
just kind of watch him.
Yeah, watch him and make sure he's doing okay, which he seems to be doing fine.
Doing fine. That's great. That's great. I was trying to think then, when you had all that set up and you were able to get the vets into Mexico, like the logistics for me are crazy to think about. Then how did you work on dogs coming to the US?
So it's sort of two different programs. So for the dogs that we were rescuing, we set up a makeshift shelter. Basically, we would rent a residence, set up a bunch of areas in the backyard, have a full-time caregiver and a few other staff, and we would quarantine the dogs, get them all ready to go down there. We had also, this was in Juarez, we had also set up a stationary sterilization clinic down there. So they would get spayed and neutered down there, and then we would transport them up north. My husband and I, Mancho, the co-founder,
Yes.
we would drive down, examine the dogs, make sure they were temperamentally sound, and then we would drive them back up to our rescue partners.
Mm-hmm.
The spay-neuter camps were harder. We would have to get special permits to cross in all the medications. We would have to secure the location. We'd have to take care of all the travel logistics, all the lodging. We worked with the local governments usually, which was very helpful. And then we would literally set up like a MASH style clinic in a community center where we just sort of gutted it. We'd have to travel with everything, all the cages, all the anesthesia machines, everything, and set things up for a week and then tear it down and bring everything back.
Now, how did the community respond to that?
Yeah, that's a great question. So people told us when we started that it was a really great idea and it probably worked really well in the States, but they didn't think that it was going to be as popular in Mexico because there really wasn't a culture of wanting spay-neuter or that much awareness about it. And that's not what we found at all. From the first clinic we set up, we would have lines stretching around the block for people to get access to free spay-neuter and veterinary care, and always more of a demand than we were able to meet. So by and large, over the past 2 decades, there's been huge receptivity on both sides of the border in the communities we serve when you offer them access to care in a compassionate way, in a way that meets them where they are, speaking their language, and just really getting into the heart of the community and providing the services.
I love that. Is that where the name comes from?
Compassion Without Borders. Yeah, I mean, it definitely is a philosophy that drives everything that we do. Yeah, so I've heard compassion described as feeling another's suffering and then taking the action to alleviate it, whereas empathy is just sort of feeling it. Compassion is coupled with the action that it takes to alleviate it. So I think that's what our organization's about.
Yeah.
And we do work on both sides of the border. So I think we got lucky with a good name.
Yeah.
Because you don't really, as far as the dogs are concerned, they don't realize there's a border there.
No,
right?
they don't realize there's a border. And for me, a life is a life,
It doesn't matter.
And we do get criticized for helping animals in Mexico, but the need is so huge down there. There's so few people working, and it's not an either or. We help dogs in our community as well. So I don't see any reason why we can't do both.
Yeah.
And I love the story you have on your website as to the why.
Yeah.
So if you check the website.
There's a good Why Rescue Dogs from Mexico blog post on there.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And talking about the work you do here too, and we'll talk about the dogs that come here from Mexico, and some of them are already rehomed in Mexico. They don't.
That's correct. We adopt locally too.
And then some of them come here. Tell us about the process when they arrive. And
so by the time they arrive here, they've already been in our care for several months in Mexico. We have a veterinary team down there that helps to get the dogs ready. My husband and I are still the ones that transport, so we drive down, do final exams. There's now a whole slew of paperwork to get the dogs across the border, drive them back. When they get here, the arrival day is always a very fun day. There's usually a lot of volunteers and staff, and everybody's very excited to greet the dogs, and we're very excited after 2 days on the road to get them out of the van and into everyone's loving hands. They settle in for a couple of days. Then we do another series of physical exams. I do a second round of physical exams. We do blood tests on all the dogs. We microchip them. A lot of the dogs have more advanced medical needs than we can meet in Mexico. So sometimes they need amputations. Sometimes they need other surgical care or medical care. So they just start the process to getting ready for adoption. Then we do have a small behavior and training team now, small but mighty, and they assess the dogs and try to figure out what kind of home they would do best in, any recommendations we might have. And then we're different than a traditional shelter just because of the layout of our facility, in that you can't just come in and walk around and pick a dog that you see. You have to look online and make an appointment to meet a dog. So then people decide which dogs they want to meet, and they come meet with the adoption counselors one-on-one and have meet and greets before getting adopted.
And I'd love for you to talk a little bit about what the volunteers do here too, because they're a big part of the organization and all that stuff that happens before somebody actually comes to adopt it.
Yes, the volunteers are hugely important, and the main reason really that the dogs are so happy here, I think, while they're here, The volunteers do everything from helping to clean and care for the animals, to coming rain or shine to get them out of their kennels, playing with them in the fields, sitting with them if they're scared, walking them if they're active and need to burn off some energy. They even have organized events called Out and Abouts, where they get the dogs out into the community. They go for a long hike. They take them to the beach. Maybe they take them out to the Barlow and walk them around with an Adopt Me vest on. They transport dogs when we need transport to and from, if they need specialty care or for any reason they need to get transported. They actually volunteer as adoption counselors, so they help to make the matches themselves. If we do outreach events, adoption events with the dogs, they're the main people that staff. We actually have one paid staff member in our adoptions department right now. So they're a huge part of that department, and they just touch every aspect of the organization, hands-on with the dogs, behind the scenes. Every single part of the organization is fueled by volunteers.
Awesome. I love that. I want to go back to, you mentioned the temperament test. And
Yes.
so in 2017, I had my first client with a Compassion Without Borders dog.
Yes.
And I was like, this dog is rock solid.
Aw.
Where is it from?
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, it kept happening over and over when I really liked a dog, and it was a new rescue.
Yeah.
And I did, and then I looked you guys up, and you had just opened, I think, or you were just
This
here
shelter?
in 2017.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's still that way. I mean, I almost to a T. If someone says, "This is my new rescue dog,"
You can tell.
I can tell.
Yeah.
And so you must be doing some kind of temperament testing that's magic.
Well, I think the dogs are kind of magic. So I think that, and not to say that we don't get dogs with temperament issues, because we do. By and large, those are dogs that come to us so sick and injured, we can't really tell what their temperament is.
Yeah.
And then once they're healed, they reveal sides of themselves that we couldn't pick up when they weren't feeling well. We call the dogs from Mexico Meximutts, and the Meximutts are just special. And I think it's because, unlike our dogs in the States that from a very young age have a plate of food put in front of them twice a day, maybe they're just sitting in the living room or the backyard, there's just not quite as much stimulation. Most of the dogs we get are off the streets, and they've had to use their wits about them to survive. And so they're pretty smart, and they're really neat, and oftentimes they've had to be charming to get people to feed them and care for them. So they're just like, they're kind of their own animal.
Yeah.
After so many years picking dogs, sadly, from areas where there's just way too many dogs, and I'm forced to pick the ones that I think are going to be the most successful, I don't have a formal temperament test, and I'm not a behaviorist or a trainer, but I have a pretty good read on a dog from the get-go. And so does my husband, and so does our team in Mexico now. So unfortunately, there's so many dogs in Mexico that we can't yet save them all. So we can really focus on the ones that we think have outstanding temperaments and are going to do really well
and get adopted.
And get adopted quickly and not, so then we can save more lives. And we'll still, we do make room for shy ones or ones that aren't just completely stellar, but we try to get the really stellar ones. And I think we have a pretty good track record.
I love that. And somebody once told me that you guys at the landfill will ask the local people which dogs they recommend or which dogs need help. Or so you're really working directly with the community. Yes,
yeah. So we started rescuing dogs from the landfill in Mexico probably, I guess, around 6 years ago. And that came about because we have a free spay, neuter, and veterinary clinic down there, and you have to dump your own organic trash in this part of Mexico. And when our team would drive the trash out, they saw a bunch of dogs, and they weren't in very good shape. So somehow or another, when we were down there, we ended up out there at the landfill, and there were a lot of dogs, and sadly, there were a lot of people, including children. And the people out there, they call them pickers, and they pick trash. They're trying to find recyclable materials for money. And it's very, very tough situation for the people and for the animals. So we started going out there. The community of pickers actually have lovely relationships with the dogs. They've usually named them. Some of them, they're their own dogs. And when that's the case, we take them and spay and neuter them, vaccinate them, and give them back. But some of them are just dogs that have been dumped, but they name them. you can tell they're wonderful with the dogs because the dogs really like the people and they don't show any signs of fear of them. And so we'll ask, is there a dog that needs help? Which dogs are out here that don't have an owner? And they'll kind of guide us to which dogs. The dogs can oftentimes be in really rough shape out there, but usually they turn around just fine with a little bit of care. I myself have 2 dogs from the landfill, and they're the best dogs in the whole world.
We actually met one of them
Oh, Cricket.
Yeah.
Cricket.
Yeah,
Yes.
Cricket's fabulous.
We'll put a picture of her on Instagram.
Yeah, Cricket's great. The other one's Bunny. So it's been an interesting evolution there. We do have a side project where it felt a little bit funny for us to go in and continually pull dogs out of the landfill, interact with these people. We now have relationships with these people. We know them by name, and not bring any assistance to them. It just felt a little incongruent to my husband and I. So we just have a modest program where we try, when we go down, we try to bring food for the people as well. And then once a year around Thanksgiving, we do a clothing drive, and we'll go out and have a bigger event where we hand out. It's quite cold.
Yeah.
People think that Mexico's warm all over, but this is the Sonoran Desert, and it's extremely hot, and it's pretty cold. So we'll bring warm clothing, stuff for the kids, a nice meal,
I love
food.
that.
Yeah, so it feels. It doesn't feel like enough. I've had like grander plans where we were going to put in something where, they at least had a bathroom or like some running water, just outside of Compassion Without Borders, just on our own. But it's very complicated. But it's hard to see people in those conditions and not feel compelled to do more than just give them some food. It's very, very, very hard to see.
Yeah. I did a small warm jacket drive last year. But we should do that this winter. Yeah,
let's do it. That's our challenge. Everybody.
Yeah,
that's what we're doing this year.
Yeah, and we really so appreciate donations. Gently used is always really appreciated. And sadly, there's quite a few kids, so donations for the kids are also appreciated.
Clothing is the best option.
We bring them toys, and just
love that.
Yeah.
All right.
Good.
All right. So you also do. I don't know where you get the time for all of this, to be honest. I'm just listening to what you're doing. But you also do work here. Like you go out to Fresno still.
Yeah. So our U.S. programs, we have. So the work in the Central Valley's kind of evolved. There used to be a Chihuahua crisis in the Central Valley. There was just way too many Chihuahuas. So we had this program where we would go down every couple of months, pick about 40 Chihuahuas, and we would airlift them to Minneapolis to get adopted there because they had a huge shortage of small dogs.
Wow.
So we did that for many years until COVID hit, and then it just got very complicated. The cost per dog on the flight got really high. So that program kind of fizzled out. So now we primarily take from Fresno their medical cases. So they don't have, the shelters that we work with in the Central Valley don't have in-house veterinary staff. So when they have an animal that's sick or injured and at risk for euthanasia, they'll reach out and see if we can help. So that's pretty much where we've landed now. That's our main function with the Central Valley. We do that with other local shelters too, with our local county shelter, with shelters all over, from Sacramento to Santa Cruz. And our niche is really medical care.
Yeah. And you got the van. Talk about that. Do you drive it?
Yeah, we have a really nice rescue van that we love, that we've been using for years. We can fit, I think the most dogs we fit is 60 dogs in the van. And in addition to the rescue, we also have on this side of the border here in Sonoma County, access to care program as well. We have a big mobile clinic, and we go out once a month into our community's most underserved, primarily low-income Latino neighborhood. We put on a low-cost veterinary clinic. We just did it last Saturday. We see about 100 patients in a day.
Wow.
The clinic starts at 8 a.m., and our clients start lining up at midnight to get access to the services. By 5 a.m., if anyone arrives after 5 a.m., we're already full. So it's just
such a big
demand.
need.
It's huge. And these people are so devoted to their animals. So we do that. And then after the animals are seen at the wellness clinic, we spay and neuter them at a separate spay neuter clinic that we do utilizing the Sonoma Humane Society surgical space. that have been great partners in
Nice.
what it's
And I've also seen you use your clinic on one of the fire evacuations too.
we did, yeah,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
right.
So you offered everybody that was there any help they needed with their dogs.
We did,
Yeah.
yeah. We were
So
glad to be able to help.
That
in
was
such a
wonderful.
moment
That
of
was wonderful
crisis.
too.
It's amazing because I think other people see a problem, right? And they're thinking like, okay, I can just do this one little piece. And you've really created this whole network of support.
Yeah, it's been wonderful to see how it's grown, and it's been, I'm here speaking, but it's just been a team effort
Yeah.
from my husband, my
Mm-hmm.
co-founder, to the team in Mexico, the team here, our board, all the volunteers. It's been so nice to see, like, you put out a little bit of energy, how that energy can
Yeah.
ripple and everybody can come together and really create something quite
awesome.
remarkable.
Beautiful.
Back to what you were saying earlier about rescue and where it goes. Are we making progress?
Yeah.
Where do you see that? Like, where do you see the change and how it can start to move in a different direction?
Yeah, that's a great question. This is a hard moment in rescue, and how full shelters are after COVID.
Mm-hmm.
And that certainly is true for shelters in the States, and it's true for what we're seeing in Mexico. So a little disheartening in that things were seeming to get better,
Mm-hmm.
populations were seeming to get lower, and COVID hit. During COVID, we couldn't get enough dogs. It looked like there was a huge demand for dogs. And so that the shelters were emptying. Everything was very positive. And then there has been sort of this dreaded rebound effect where everybody's very full. So it's hard right now to see the positive forward motion, but there is. For me, when it comes to rescue, I really do focus on the individual. So, we spend so much of our efforts on prevention through spay, neuter, and access to care. But what really like feeds my heart and feeds my soul is just being able to see, like, okay, this dog, I know what this dog looked like when I picked that dog up off the streets.
Mm-hmm.
And then, oh my gosh, I just got this photo of this dog in bed with this person. And so, like, just knowing that one life has been changed, that suffering has been alleviated, that their struggle was worth it. I really hold on to that.
That's great.
And I do think, there's more people doing rescue now every day in Mexico, in Sonoma County. And I'm encouraged to see that I think animal shelters are moving more towards access to care programs.
Mm-hmm.
It really was pretty unheard of even like 10 years ago. And now it's kind of the hot thing. Like everybody wants to provide access to care and to keep animals with their families rather than to just take them in.
Exactly.
So I think within the rescue world, there's a lot of progress, but it is hard to see how many homeless animals there are right now.
It is like all the shelters are full. And I'll add Ireland to that mix too.
Yeah.
They're having a lot of difficulty with all the animals they're seeing too. So it's like a worldwide thing after COVID.
What are some of your dreams for Compassion Without Borders?
So we're in the final stages of building a brand new facility in Mexico. Up until now, we've always rented spaces. Like our spay neuter clinic is in an old convenience store that we retrofitted, and our puppy orphanage is in an old mechanic shop that we made into an orphanage. And that's been challenging for a variety of reasons. It's hard to make this space exactly how we want it, put in too much investment because it's not ours. And we're kind of never sure if we're going to need to move, if they're going to actually kick us out. We were fortunate in that we got a piece of land donated just up the street from our current free clinic in Mexico. And we've been building what we're calling a Home for Hope, which is going to be a great new facility. Right now we have a shelter, a puppy orphanage. We actually have a cat shelter and a spay neuter clinic, and they're all in different parts of the city. But this is going to enable us to have everything on the same campus.
Nice.
Perfect.
And it's, we can design it exactly how we want it, which has been amazing. And part of the dream is for it to serve as a training center for vets and other animal welfare professionals in Mexico, but really all of Latin America, so that they can replicate the model in different areas, because we certainly can't do it. Can't do it alone. I would love for us to open another free spay neuter clinic in Mexicali. and just continue to do our part to expand what we can do, both in prevention and rescue, but also to support others so that they can do it.
I love it.
And do it well.
Yeah.
What do you do for your well-being to be able to do this every day?
Yeah, that's a great question. Yes, I pet a lot of dogs. I have a lot of dogs. I run. I'm a runner. That really helps me stay balanced. I have a son. I have now a 15-year-old son.
I can't believe
So,
that. I
I
remember all the
know.
pictures of him on your trips
Right?
earlier.
Yeah,
trips,
he started his sophomore year today.
Yeah.
So I try to be very intentional about disconnecting and spending time with my son. And, a lot of people ask how I can be around so much suffering firsthand, not all of which ends the way that I would hope it would. And I think it's a couple of things. I think one is knowing that I'm just doing everything I can. I'm not just witnessing the suffering, I'm actively trying to change it and do what I can to help. That gives me strength. And I also really feel my feelings. Like, when I'm sad, I'll cry, I'll put on a sad song, I'll just give myself the space to just be sad.
Nice.
And I think that's helped me a lot to keep going and not to get too burnout. Not to say that I don't think anyone would hold me up as a role model for self-care, but I try.
Good. Anything else you'd like to share with us about the organization?
We could talk a little bit about Matopia, where we are today.
Yeah.
The shelter where we are today. Yeah. So the name that we have for this shelter where we're here in Southwest Santa Rosa is Matopia. It's a 3.5 acre facility that we got back, I think about 2016 or 2017. So prior to having this shelter in the US, we would rescue dogs and transport them to other shelters for adoption. What that meant was we had to have pretty stellar dogs, not too many project dogs, because those shelters really wanted dogs they were going to be able to move very quickly. So it'd be hard for us to get project dogs. They would all end up at my house, or it was difficult to take on dogs that needed longer rehabilitation. And we didn't get to follow that dog's journey.
Yeah.
We would sort of drop them off, and then there they would go. So having this facility has been a game changer because we can take whatever dogs we want to take, however long their medical rehab is going to be. We have the space and the time and the capability to take them. It's enabled us to take some very rewarding and challenging cases. And it's enabled us to have a community. We have a community of volunteers. We have a community of adopters. We're able to get their post-adoption stories, sometimes to see the dogs back. So it's also built this base of support, and it's really been amazing. And this facility was made possible through a partnership with the Center for Animal Protection and Education, go by the acronym CAPE. They got a bequest from a woman named Lisa Landy, and she specified that she wanted it to go to helping dogs. And CAPE does do dog rescue, but they're primarily a farmed animal advocacy organization that we've been working with for over 20 years with the dog rescue piece of their work. And they said that they couldn't think of anyone who would help more dogs with the money. So they very generously gave us a piece of the bequest to buy this property.
Amazing.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Tell us all where you're located and your hours, but you said by appointment. So how that works if somebody was interested in coming to see a dog here.
So we're here in Southwest Santa Rosa. Website is cwob.org. And on that, they'll say available dogs, and you can just click on it and see who we have available. That'll prompt you to fill out an online application. And then within 48 hours, we'll get back to you and set up a time for you to come meet the dog.
Yeah.
Great.
And I know my sister's dog is from here, and her dog wasn't even on the website, but she called here and just started talking to the adoption coordinator.
Oh, yeah.
And then when Dusty was here, they called her and they were like, we think we have a great dog for you.
Oh.
So I would encourage people just to make that connection now, even if just because it's such a great organization I think you match really well.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah,
we sure try.
And I know I have one question. You have dogs at this facility. Do you ever bring cats back?
Oh, that's a great question. We do. So our primary avenue for cat rescue is through a partner agency in Phoenix called Halo. And they take cats from our shelter in Mexico. We transport them up. They adopt them out. It's been amazing. But we do get cats. We get cats locally. Right now, we have 14 cats that have broke with ringworm that we're caring for. I don't know if you saw that as part of your tour.
No.
They're taking up a whole wing of the facilities. So to a much lesser extent, we rescue and adopt out cats. From the access to care standpoint, it's probably like 50-50. We do see a ton of cats at our clinics, both in Mexico and here. But we do rescue cats, but to a lesser degree.
Great. Well, we're just going to finish up then. So
Okay.
thank you so much for joining us.
It was so good to see
That
you.
was it was so amazing.
I know, I was teary-eyed a couple times.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah.
You just are amazing. I just have to
so
say
are
that.
you guys.
I
The
love
whole
it.
organization is amazing and inspires us to do some good stuff too.
Yeah.
So,
That's nice to hear.
I love what you were saying, just because sometimes I feel like that's just putting out one fire, like rescuing one. But how important that is to just focus on that.
Yeah.
That changing the life of one animal is so powerful.
Yeah. That was like that. That's what I really think of with Cha-Cha. Like it was just the one thing I could do in that one moment. And then it just triggered so many more things.
until next time.
All right.
Thanks.
Yes. Thank you guys.
Thanks for tuning in today, and hope you'll join us for our next episode. You can reach Emma at
ecdogtraining.com or on Instagram at ecdog_training, and Kirsten at
kwhappydogs.com or on Facebook at kwhappydogs. Don't forget to hit subscribe. See you next time.